cushion things and hide them, because if things get worse and then they do break, you've just made a bigger problem.
Indeed. All right, Doctor. Good evening. On the first-time caller line, you're on the air with Dr. Swords on Area 2000.
Hello, Doctor.
Hello.
I have a question for you, and, the question is, have you noticed, or is there any research being done on what seems to have changed the physiognomy of the women of mainly Western Europe and North and South America? And I have some examples.
Well, go ahead with your example.
Well, for instance, the arms of women since roughly the mid-'70s have become very long, and their hands are either very narrow with long fingers or large hands, thick fingers. The facial structure seems to have stabilized in a very angular dimensions, and the mouth has widened. The features are becoming very close set, and the length of the leg is becoming long, and also its size is becoming very narrow, very slender.
Where does this information come from?
Yeah, I've got the same question. Where'd you get this, sir?
This is just observation.
Oh, I see.
Now, this seems to be the type of female, which seems to be mainly in the, like I said, in North and South America and Western Europe. This seems to be becoming a very dominant feature, especially the legs and the arms.
All right, thank you. Doctor, do you concur with any of those observations? Oh, I'm afraid we're going to have to get Dr. Swords back. All right, caller, I appreciate it. We're going to have to find out if he concurs with any of that.
Take a look at the beach.
Take a look at the beach?
Now, the next time you look, well, say at movies from, say, roughly 1960 to date, when they show crowd scenes or women at the beach, etc., not the actresses, but just general women, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's becoming real striking.
I've never even heard such a thing suggested before.
Try it. Try it and see, and you'll begin to notice certain features are becoming standard.
Well, do you think that's just something you're noticing, or do you think it's actually some sort of, real change that's gone on?
Well, from what I've seen, it seems to be a genuine genetic change. It's not. I'm not talking surgical alteration either. Because who in their right mind would have, for instance, the muscles in their calves reduced? And how would you narrow someone's hand without cutting away so much musculature that you couldn't close your hand?
That's a very good point, caller. Very good point. And, Doctor, we've got you back now. I still have this caller, same caller on the line.
Okay.
And he's saying that he's noticing all of these changes in women. Do you concur with any of that at all? Thank you, caller.
No, I'm afraid I don't. I was saying before the gremlins got into the works of the phone company here, I don't know what you make of that, because I watch women just as much as anyone else, I suppose, and I haven't noticed, except perhaps if he's sitting around watching the shapes of actresses and models, which could possibly be changing to the fashion of some sort.
All right. Line 2, good evening. You're on the air with Dr. Swords, who's in Michigan.
Art?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Sam again from Las Vegas.
Okay, we're only allowed to make one call, sir.
I understand that, Art.
All right, well, thank you then for the call. And good evening out of state. You're on the air with Dr. Michael Swords, who's in Michigan.
Yes, when do you think the government will reveal to the American people that there are actually UFOs?
It's a good question, if ever. Doctor, any comment on that? When might they reveal it, or what might provoke them to reveal it? Or can they be pushed into it?
Well, of course, all of us that are interested in the Roswell case are constantly trying to think of something productive along those lines all the time. I certainly don't believe that marching with tickets out in front of the White House asking for Bill Clinton to come clean is going to do it. I think, in fact, if anything, that's a negative way of going about things, because that is it puts it into a kind of an unserious light, I think, in most people's mind, and actually causes negative pressure. If there were another couple of major breaks of the security people, then perhaps the combination of what's already known on Roswell and, say, a current guardian of the black box that can contains this stuff would come through with something. But if you don't have a major leak of some kind, I don't see any incentive for the government to reveal anything if they know about UFOs.
And there may be more on the social side that dictates you wouldn't reveal it unless you had to, I suppose.
It has been stated by some of their experts in the past that if you've got a situation that has essentially nothing on the positive side except solving the curiosity of a few American citizens, and you've got a whole lot potentially on the negative side, you don't run the experiment.
Absolutely, and that's what it would seem to add up to. Line 3, you're on the air with Dr. Swords.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Is that me?
That's you.
Okay, thank you. I was on my way home, and I heard this discussion, and it must have been at least 20 years ago. It might have been a little longer than that. I remember my husband came home with a book, and it was called Chariots of the Gods. Has the doctor ever heard of this book?
Oh, I suspect so. Thank you. Doctor, what about that, Chariots of the Gods?
Well, she's talking about the thing that made Eric von Daniken a multimillionaire, of course. Eric von Daniken actually did the concept of ancient astronauts a disservice. There's nothing inherently wrong with the idea that you could have had extraterrestrial visitations at ancient times and that these particular visitations would have affected the cultures in terms of the making of their buildings or more likely the sculpting of their mythologies. But since Eric von Daniken played so fast and loose with the facts and made such horrendous errors and howling zingers throughout his book, he took what was a potentially respectable theory and it completely ran the entire scholarly community off of it. At one time, even Carl Sagan, prior to von Daniken's input, even Carl Sagan had broached a Chariots of the Gods type hypothesis in a famous Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence textbook that he wrote. And, of course, Carl Sagan wouldn't be caught dead uttering anything about that now.
Big flap going on now about Mars, about the Explorer, the loss of the Explorer. What feedback are you getting on that, Doctor?
The feedback that I'm getting is that that NASA just screwed up, and that we set back a couple of years ago and yucked it up and called the Soviets a bunch of goons for pushing the wrong button on their Phobos probe, and now we've apparently made not a computer error, but a mechanical error, and that there's some sort of a transistor that has been known to have failed in a couple of other spacecraft before that was also put back into this thing, and that if it failed again, like it has failed before, we would have lost contact. So
that though, it seems so unlikely. If you had a transistor that had failed in one craft, surely you would put it through its paces. You'd already experienced a large financial loss as a result of it. Why would you put it in yet another craft?
It started failing the rings on the shuttle before we let one blow up, too.
Good point.
We're capable of any amount of stupidity because the organization is so big that it doesn't keep good track of our pieces.
All right. Good evening. You're on the air with Dr. Michael Swords, who is in Michigan. Where are you, please? Hello? Apparently not. Line 2, you're on the air with Dr. Swords. Good evening.
Yeah, about that the world news thing, those are hoaxes, those pictures on there. They just want to sell, one satellite of it. I hate to buy those years ago, but they're all hoaxes.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm very well aware of their reputation.
Do you have a question for the doctor?
Sure. All right, I understand. Thank you. Good evening. You're on the air with Dr. Michael B. Swords, who is in Michigan. Where are you calling from, please?
Santa Ana, California.
Santa Ana. Go ahead.
Yes. I just wanted to say that I really think they should disclose any information that they have on UFOs. I feel like I should have a right to know, and I want to know. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe it would do some good for a lot of people if they knew that there was something more than, or something bigger than us, than this, beyond this planet. Something to strive for, I guess.
Well, I guess that has to be balanced against what the doctor said about what the reaction would be among, say, 5% of the population or so. But it sounds as though you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I think that the 95% should outweigh that 5%. I think most people would welcome it, and it would do wonders for, I don't know, I guess just our whole outlook on things.
All right, very good. Thank you, ma'am. Just a comment, Doctor. She thinks the 95% would benefit far more than the 5% that would go around the corner.
Of course, we don't know about 95% or 5%. We don't know what people are thinking, but the government has already tried to play that mind game, too, and see how that came out. And what the Brookings Institute said in their report to NASA was that when a superior culture and an inferior culture intimately meet, and so that there's a genuine sharing of information between them, the inferior culture almost always dies in terms of a self-ordaining kind of a culture and becomes just a appendix sucking in whatever it gets from its now big brother and doesn't any further develop on its own. So that as Carl Jung, the famous Swiss psychologist, was supposed to have gotten this information while talking to an Amazonian shaman, the Amazonian shaman said back to Jung, "You have stolen all our dreams." And so the happy thought of us having this wonderful new possibility out there might well be very negative as far as independent development of the human race.
All right. Line 3, you're on the air with...
Ed, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir.
Need more time for these
I know.
shows, but anyway, real quick, I'm just curious been trying to get that shuttle off the ground. Is that...
It is now off the ground.
Well,
Yes, it did successfully launch.
Oh, finally, yeah. I was just curious if that had anything to do with that screw-ups, or they were just pressured by people from the unknown that they didn't want it to launch or something.
No, it's up, sir.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Out of state very quickly as we run out of time for Dr. Michael Swords in Michigan. Good evening. Line 1, good evening.
Good evening, Art and Doctor. I'll try to make this fast because I know time is running out. First of all, Doctor, have you ever heard of Noah Fredericks, who is a biblical and UFO researcher? And then I have a second part to the question.
I have not.
Okay. He basically believes that UFOs have been around even before biblical time in history. And my question is to do with the finger formation of alien descriptions. If you ran every description on a computer, do you know how many, or if many came up with 6 fingers? And the reason I'm asking, the other day when I was doing my own biblical research, I found that in 1 Chronicles 20th chapter, verse 6, they mention a being with 6 fingers and 6 toes, that he's of large stature.
All right, I'm sorry, time just about gone. Doctor, any response?
Well, the UFO humanoids are almost always described as having either 4 or 5 fingers and not 6.
Dr. Swords, we really could use a whole lot more time for this subject. We only get, however, 2 hours. And as I do with most of my guests, particularly you, since you look into everybody else's research, I would like to have you back sometime.
Oh, that's a possibility.
Well, it has been a distinct pleasure, and you're an easy interview, and I thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Won't be a full.
You have a good evening, sir. Dr. Michael J. Swords, and I'm afraid that's it, everybody. We operate as close as we can to what's going on here, to the clock, and so that's going to do it. Remember, if you have any information at all that you would like checked out, anything you would like looked into, the Bigelow Foundation has the ability and has the resources to accomplish that, and I urge you to call them. Their number is coming up now, and we'll see you again next week at 8 o'clock.
The preceding program was made possible by a grant from the Bigelow Foundation. This has been Area 2000, a program that introduces our listeners to the scientific approach for discussion of 2 particular subjects: UFOs and near-death and after-death experiences. To contact the Bigelow Foundation, please call during the week between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Area code 702-456-1606. Ask for Angela Thompson. That's area code 702-456-1606. And be with us next Sunday evening at 8 for another edition of Area 2000.